blocked by her barrage of words. Bai Ruoqi could not slip in any responses. Yet against expectations, Huang Yuli still managed to display a smile that was both pure and harmless. But in actuality, all of this was executed purposely. Her belly was filled with evil schemes. Stiffly Bai Ruoqi reasoned. And now, the auction has just concluded, so the amount of people searching Manager's son must be numerous. If we were to go now, we would definitely have to line up. Line up? Second sister, I think you are overthinking this. Wasn't the inner courtyard empty? But you made a good point. We must make haste, or we will have to line up. Let's go. Once she finished speaking, Huang Yuli began to speedily zoom away. Once again, Bai Ruoqi looked as if she had smashed herself with a stone. Left without any other choice, she could only helplessly follow in her footsteps. After Huang Yuli knocked on the door, a serving hand quickly opened the door and led her inside. Inside the room, there was only Manager Sunday opening the door and seeing the mountain. Huang Yuli didn't beat around the bush. Twisting his beard, Manager's son replied, with pleasure. Then I shall ask second young Miss Bai to make the payment. This, quite obviously Bai Ruoqi was unable to take out this amount. Her face was both green and pale. After hesitating and dallying for quite some time, she squeezed out the following words. Manager son, I currently do not enough money on my person. Is it possible? Before she had the chance to finish her words, Huang Yuli instantly cut her off exaggeratedly. You didn't bring enough money, second sister? By the way you were calling out bids previously, it did not seem like you were lacking in funds? If you really called out bids without possessing sufficient funds, that would be true malicious price raising. Then you were the thief crying out thief, intentionally slandering me. Because you were lacking in money, you deliberately raised the stakes. You're viciously slandering. Bai Ruoqi nearly jumped up in frustration. Who did not know of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's strong measures towards those who bid with evil intentions? With this damned girl's hollering in front of Manager's son, what would he conclude from this? Moreover, it wasn't herself who deliberately wished to raise the prices, but this wretched girl's planning. Unfortunately, Huang Yuli would not allow her to explain herself. Seemingly frightened by Ruoqi, she retreated a few steps and began to mumble nonstop. Then how do you explain your insufficient funds? Thousand Treasure Pavilion's rules state that one must possess sufficient funds before placing a bid. Once you successfully obtain the item, you must immediately pay the price or else enter Thousand Treasure Pavilion's blacklist. As she stated this, Huang Yuli purposely added, Second sister, if you really don't have enough money, you should honestly tell Manager's son. After all, money should be more important than reputation, right? In the worst-case scenario that news of this spreads out, it would better than losing the family fortune. Death glaring her, Bai Ruoqi was nearly angered to death. Huang Yuli's sarcastic and snide comments were truly said dexterously. Light but lethally struck at the weak points. If she were to truly enter Thousand Treasure Pavilion's blacklist, it would not only affect herself. This would also affect the residents of Wu Wei Manor. God knows how furious her daddy would become. As for the problem of paying the bill, she was unable to take out the full amount. She must go ask by Lu Jing for more money. But he would still be angered to death if he were to learn that she used 131,000 silvers, yet failed to obtain even the dust particles of the pills. No matter what the options, she would not be able to live with face. No matter how erratically Bai Ruoqi's expressions changed, she did not mention anything about paying the bill. With this sort of conduct, even Manager's son could not bear to watch any longer. At first, he did not wish to believe that Wu Wei Manor's young miss would lack the funds. But her current behavior hinted otherwise. You can also listen on. Coughing lightly, Manager's son interrupted the two. Second Miss Bai, what is your current standing? There is quite a number of people waiting outside for their items. If possible, I ask that you pay as soon as possible and sort out your grudges at a later date. Bai Ruoqi hesitated at those words. In the moment where she could not retreat or advance, the silent crown prince spoke up. For this bottle of spirit-raising pills, just allow this one to pay. Once his words rung out, Bai Ruo Qi instantly swiveled her gaze onto the Crown Prince's body, her eyes brimming with gratitude. "Your Highness Crown Prince, you really wish." Huffing slightly, the Crown Prince nodded his head. After all, he had prepared 10 million silvers to compete for that profound armor set. In the end, he only used 3 million before winning. Such a worthwhile transaction it was, skyrocketing the Crown Prince to unbelievably high levels of blissfulness. Spending this trifling amount of 131,000 silvers for his future imperial concubine was but a small matter. As for the reason behind his delayed assistance, it was to gain the most amount of gratitude from Bai Ruo Qi. He first allowed the events to play, allowing to become panicked before stepping out at the crucial moment. He executed this type of counting chickens before they hatched wonderfully. Seeing Bai Ruo Qi nearly brought to tears, the Crown Prince felt quite pleased. Smilingly, Huang Yuli spoke up again. "Your Royal Highness, you are too generous. Who would have thought you would treat second sister so well? Casually spending 100,000 or so, without batting an eyelash." Arrogantly, the Crown Prince flaunted, "Naturally. Does this one look like a stingy person?" Even Bai Ruo Qi could not have predicted the Crown Prince's generosity today. Leaping in joy, the gaze she gave Huang Yuli was filled with provocation. With the Crown Prince's valiant charisma, it's no wonder he is the object of admiration for countless young ladies in Southview. "Third sister, I don't wish to intentionally speak ill of you, but your eyesight in men is just too poor. Clearly that man who brought you into the VIP room was extremely powerful, so why did you need to make this gamble for those spirit-raising pills with me?" Bai Ruo Qi assumed that Huang Yuli would become shamefully angry once she heard those words. After all, the Crown Prince was willing to throw away 100,000 silvers, while the man Huang Yuli attracted, who clearly was richer, did not come out to help her. Speaking bluntly, he was playing with her. What people hated most was the comparison between others. They would naturally despise, anger, and hate. Contrary to expectation, Huang Yuli operated opposite to most people. Without the slight modulation in her expression, she actually looked towards the Crown Prince in admiration. "No wonder you are the Crown Prince. Possessing status and power, and even your wealth, is astounding. The Crown Prince is someone who can easily pull out 3 million to purchase a complete profound armor set. So what would a bottle of pills amount to? To be able to be with the Crown Prince, second sister has the envy of many." This well-executed boot-licking was right up the Crown Prince's road. He felt blissful. On the other hand, Bai Ruo Qi's heart jumped. Interrupted by Huang Yuli earlier, she nearly forgot to. Does the Crown Prince know that he had just bid 3 million gold coins? Not silver coins. The Crown Prince currently believed he had more than enough money, so spending money for her did not affect him. But if he were to carry such a large debt, and then recall the amount he spent on the female beside him. Secretly, Bai Ruo Qi's facial colors paled. Unfortunately, it was too late to inform him. Straightforwardly, the Crown Prince threw out a black card and said, "Deduct the pill's money from this card. As for the profound armor this one just purchased, also deduct it from here too. But I must first inspect the treasure before paying. You can also listen on." Manager Sun said, "That is to be expected. I invite your Royal Highness to the storeroom for inspection." As Manager Sun led the way, the Crown Prince could not hide his joy, so he pulled out a fan to disguise it, following leisurely behind. Heart racing with panic, Bai Ruo Qi ran to catch up. But no matter what, she could not think of a way to inform him. And what made her heart most anxious was the fact that Huang Yuli had followed them. "Why are you following us?" Bai Ruo Qi fiercely glared at her. Huang Yuli returned her glare with a smile. "Of course I am here to collect my pills. It has already been paid, so why would I not retrieve it? Wouldn't that be throwing money into water?" Those silvers were already thrown into the water. Once again, Bai Ruo Qi nearly fainted from anger. Her eyes filled with despise. Bai Ruo Qi hissed to her, "Let me tell you this. Don't be happy to early Bai Ruo Li. Did you think that you would be able to cultivate just by obtaining that bottle of spirit-raising pills? Haha, that may not be the case. Even if they are effective, you will be most a first-grade talent, never to break past the defensive profound realm. No matter what you do, you are still trash. For a cultivational wastrel, even with the assistance of various medicinal pills, they would forever be stuck at the chi profound realm. They would never be able to become an expert. At most, they would merely possess a healthier and longer lifespan than normal. Although Bai Ruo Chi's words were harsh, they were the truth. Contrary to her expectations, Huang Yuli was not heartbroken or affected in the slightest. In fact, she was smiled with amusement. Who informed you that I would be the one to eat those spirit-raising pills? Though stunned, Bai Ruo Chi immediately recovered herself. Looks like you know yourself. No matter how many pills you take, they would all be useless. You are just wasting those treasures. Since you are making the imitative to return those pills to me, I shall be the greater person and forgive you. Stop. Huang Yuli raised a hand. Second sister, aren't you just a bit too full of yourself? Did I say that intend to give them to you? Then why did you say you did not intend to take them? Giving her a condescending look, Huang Yuli answered, I can choose not to eat them, but sell them for money instead. Sell for money? Bai Ruo Chi opened her eyes wide in shock. If Huang Yuli really planned and sold those pills, then she would truly become a laughingstock. Seeing her utter gaze of loathing, Huang Yuli naturally would smile. Sell them for money. Of course, that would be impossible. Second sister, don't be so anxious. Inwardly, Bai Ruo Chi loosed a sigh of relief while maintaining that look of despise. Disdainfully, she said, Humph, to be expected from someone like you. You plan to use such a precious resource as a method of earning money? What ways to be in your possession? Only true chi profound realm practitioners would be able to absorb and display its full effects. That's right, I also feel this way. Huang Yuli smirked lightly. That's why I plan to bring the pills back with me, so the servants in my back courtyard can take them instead. What? My personal maid, Kai Wei, you know her, right, second sister? Following me for such a long time and suffering so many beatings from you and fourth sister. So pitiful. When I return, I plan to give her 3 spirit-raising pills as compensation. Also my guard, that sweeper, that gardener, they can't be left out. Why don't I bestow them all apiece as a reward and let them have a taste? Mouth gaping and frozen in speechlessness, Bai Ruo Chi did not know what to say. What did she think spirit-raising pills were? Candy? Lining up to eat. One for you, one for me? Everyone to have a taste? You can also listen on. Those were precious and hard-to-obtain second-level upper-grade products. How many martial practitioners would place their lives on the line but still fail to even obtain a single pill? Yet she actually planned to give them to those servants? She didn't hear incorrectly, right? Momentarily stunned, Bai Ruo Chi regained herself and snorted coldly. Don't think of tricking me anymore. Speaking all for the sake of angering me, right? Do you think I'm an idiot? Will you truly feed those pills to a bunch of servants? You, telling you the truth, but refusing to believe me. Aren't you forcing me to lie? These years, just trying to speak the truth. It's just too hard. Extremely aggrieved, Huang Yuli helplessly shook her head and sighed. The little phoenix who had been hiding in her sleeves silently nearly fell out again. Lord, this female devil is becoming more and more twisted. For Bai Ruo Chi, to continue remaining sane was already nothing short of a miracle. Truly deserving the title of South Yu's #1 female genius. Her mental prowess was truly amazing. Your Highness Crown Prince, 2 young Miss Bays, I invite you inside. At that moment, Manager Sun's voice sounded, alerting them they had arrived at the storeroom. Glaring at Huang Yuli intensely, Bai Ruo Chi strutted inside. Mouth curving in amusement, Huang Yuli leisurely entered. When she entered, Manager Sun had already taken out the spirit-raising pills. This bottle of spirit-raising pills has already been identified and confirmed by the Alchemy Guild. Its quality is very good. I ask you to take possession of it now. Just as Bai Ruo Chi wished to take it herself, Huang Yuli's hand had flashed by and received the bottle. You! Lowering her head to examine it, Huang Yuli nodded her head in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. Its quality can be considered high. These silvers were not spent in vain. Deduct the money, then. That tone of hers seemed like she was the one who made the payment. Clenching her teeth, Bai Ruoqi could only watch as Manager Sun deduct the payment from the Crown Prince's black card. Once completed, he smiled and said, I am indebted to third young Miss Bai's patronage. For such guests who are generous like yourself, it is truly rare. In the future, I ask that you continue to grace our shop. Huang Yuli chuckled in response. As long as your products are good, money will not be an issue. Stifled and having the urge to vomit, Bai Ruoqi wailed over her spirit-raising pills. She couldn't even touch the bottle's exterior before the money was just gone. Gone. What made her even more furious was the manner in which Manager Sun treated that cheap slut. It was not her own money that she was spending, so of course she would be generous. If it were her, she would be even more generous. In slow, calculated steps, Huang Yuli returned to the sides of the Bai Ruoqi and the Crown Prince. Clutching the bottle, she beamed at them. Second sister, Crown Prince, I really thank you both today. The Crown Prince looked at her unenthused and nodded his head slightly. On the other hand, Bai Ruoqi nearly exploded. Third sister, you have already obtained your pills, so why are you not leaving? Ah! Huang Yuli acted surprised. Didn't the Crown Prince say he wished to inspect the profound armor? And he clearly agreed to allow me to watch and earn some worldly experiences, right? Is he going back on his word? You also wish to view the Crown Prince's possessions? Dream, oh. Impatient, the Crown Prince waved his hand to interrupt the two's conversation. Enough! Enough quarreling. If they wish to watch, then let them watch. In the meantime, Manager Sun commanded a few servants to carry all 13 chests out. Opening all the chests, a cyan, glowing set of armor appeared within their eyes. Indeed, it is a peak-quality, profound armor. The Crown Prince's face lit up in delight. Stepping forward, he bent down to begin his examination. You can also listen on. This profound armor set was painstakingly crafted by Huang Yuli. Although its exterior was not eye-catching, the effects were there. She was someone who cared more for the results rather than the look. The old merchant manager's son had to even request her to engrave a few more useless but eye-pleasing carvings and symbols. In fact, the more decorative battle formations and carvings on the profound armor, the more profound chi it would exhaust long term. Towards a more experienced appraiser, this would result in a lowered evaluation of the product. Such methods were mostly used to scam laymen. What a misfortune for the Crown Prince to be a wealthy layman. The more he looked at the glowing, profound armor, the more the Crown Prince liked it. Unable to control his smile, he waved his hand in appreciation. Good. It's really too good. Manager's son, your 1,000-treasure pavilion truly is good. To be able to obtain such a wonderful, profound armor, deserving of being South Yu's best merchant hall. You overpraise, is your highness. This remark made Manager Sun extremely happy. Huang Yuli was also very happy. Holding her chin, she examined her work. If she were to bring out a product, it must be the best. Although this Crown Prince was a bit trashy, he still had good eyesight. That being the case, she would allow him a few days of rest to collect some more money before scamming him again. Only Bai Ruoqi's face was ugly looking. But with the current events, no one paid her any attention. Once the Crown Prince had completed his excited inspection, with the assistance of Manager Sun, he wore the armor for a test. Activating the armor's supplementary profound skill, he smashed the strength testing stone with one hit. This is just too powerful. By relying on this profound armor alone, this prince can barely manage to fight on par with a spirit-profound realm practitioner. The Crown Prince widely beamed. Taking of the profound armor, he waved his hand and said, It's fine. There are no problems. You can deduct the sum. Also have some people wrap it all up. This prince will personally bring people over to retrieve it later. Grinning widely, Manager's son replied to him, Then I ask your royal highness to pay your bill then. The Crown Prince was puzzled. Hasn't this one already given you the black card? Manager's son immediately replied, That's correct, but your black card only has 10 million silvers. Your Royal Highness, through what methods are you planning to defer the remainder of the sum? We can provide the... Wait a moment. Eyebrows frowning. The Crown Prince interrupted his words. You are saying that 10 million is not enough? Manager Sun nodded his head in confirmation. Your Royal Highness, you are also an esteemed VIP customer of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. So you should know that this shop always receives the full amount before handing the goods over. This prince knows. But this prince's 10 million is more than enough to pay the due amount. This profound armor is only 3 million. Even if you include that bottle of spirit-raising pills, there should still be more than enough. This time, it was Manager Sun's turn to be puzzled. Looking to the left, looking to the right, Manager Sun then cautiously and carefully asked, Your Royal Highness, did you make a mistake somewhere? This profound armor is calculated through gold. So you did not buy it through 3 million silver coins, but 3 million gold coins. What? What did you say? The Crown Prince did dare to believe his ears. 3 million gold. This was 3 million gold. Although this profound armor set was expensive, it should be no higher than 10 million silver. The current settled price was more than 3 times of what he expected. Even if he disregarded whether or not it was worth the price, he would still not be able to take out 3 million. As the Crown Prince stared at Manager Sun, his gaze became more and more gloomy. And you can also listen on. How could this be? Calculated through gold coins? How does this prince not know? Your shop had not said this before. Are you intentionally scamming this prince? Manager Sun was merely an ordinary profound realm practitioner. When he received such a formidable glare from such an expert, he could feel cold sweat form on his back. If it were possible, Manager Sun did wish to offend the Crown Prince. But when he recalled his powerful and mysterious boss instructions, he must summon all courage within him to contend with the Crown Prince. Your Royal Highness, you are number 1 in South U, an existence above tens of thousands. How could we, Thousand Treasure Pavilion, who was born and survives in South U, dare to scam you? His face still unsightly, the Crown Prince questioned. Then explain how did this situation. Previously, before the auctioning of these profound armaments began, that mysterious armament master had sent over someone to ask us in changing the calculation method from silver to gold. Hence our sudden and abrupt change. What? How could this be? This prince did not hear of this. You dare to fool this prince? As the Crown Prince ink-black eyebrows furrowed together, his face was at the peak of gloominess. Hastily, Manager Sun answered him. At that time, I had announced several times to the audience below. Once I confirmed the guests had heard this, did I dare start the auction. Your Royal Highness, are you telling me that you did not hear this? He truly did not hear this. But Manager Sun had said this in such a solemn tone that it could not possibly be fake. Additionally, when those people had called out bids, it was done very conservatively, clearly not randomly. Those people must have heard Manager Sun's words. Drowned in sweat, the Crown Prince attempted to recall the memories from that time. Then his heart clenched in alarm. That waiter. At the times he had thought it was a bit strange. Normally, once the auction began, apart from guests, there should not be anyone else who was able to enter the auction hall. Yet that waiter appeared at that moment. At the time, he was too impatient to think too deeply. But now when he recalled it, that occurrence was much too strange. Also that bottle of wine. That waiter insisted to open that bottle. And once it was opened and he smelled its aroma, he was unable to hear or recall the events around him. This clearly indicated a conspiracy. The more the Crown Prince analyzed it, the more ugly his face turned. As he unconsciously fisted his hand together, the surrounding profound chi seemed to be affected by the influx of this emotions. With dramatic effects, it began to fluctuate around him. Unknowingly, both Manager Sun and Bai Ruo Qi retreated a few steps in fear of an attack from the fluctuations. Only Huang Yuli remained seated next to one of the 13 armament chests. With great relish, she watched the scene unfold before her. Preposterous. Unable to contain his anger any longer, the Crown Prince explosively punched towards a nearby pillar. A defensive profound realm practitioner's strike can reach a few thousand gene in strength. As a result, the entire room shook from the aftershock. Crackle, rattle. Due to the shaking from the punch, bottles of pills spilled down from a cupboard. Smashing onto the floor, various pills rolled around on. Local tyrant, too wasteful. In a hushed voice, Huang Yuli garrulously mumbled. In a stern voice, the Crown Prince spoke. Your 1,000-treasure pavilion has great courage. Dare to play with this prince like so? Frightened by this sudden outburst, Manager Sun kneeled down immediately. Your Royal Highness, I ask you to quell your anger. This lowly one dare not. The situation at the time was witnessed by everyone attending. This shop has always been fair and just. We have never cheated a single one of our customers. I ask your Royal Highness Crown Prince to distinguish the truth. You can also listen on. Dare to quibble. Clearly, it was you who ordered someone to appear before the auction to purposely open that bottle of wine, resulting in this prince's inability to hear your words and astronomical bids. For the sake of earning more commission, you dared to pull such underhand methods. Do you think that this prince is such a good-tempered person to be cheated by you like this? With those accusatory words dropping, the Crown Prince's pressure had reached its peak. Manager Sun was merely a merchant, so there was no possibility of him experiencing such pressure before. His back drenched with cold sweat, he completely collapsed into the ground. We are certain we have not scammed you. The bottle of wine you speak of, this lowly really has no knowledge of. It has nothing to do with 1,000-treasure pavilion. The Crown Prince coldly sneered. You say you do know of the events that occurred in your 1,000-treasure pavilion's territory? Did you think this prince is an idiot? Crown Prince, quell your anger. Crown Prince, quell your anger. This lowly one has been wrongly accused. The Crown Prince completely ignored his explanations and began to talk frostily. Quell my anger? That won't do. I order people to come and carry these profound armaments away for this prince. Consider this compensation for this prince. In addition to this, 10 days later, have someone deliver 3 million gold over to the royal palace. Then this affair can be forgotten. Otherwise, The Crown Prince's subordinates had been waiting for him at the entrance. When they heard his commands, they immediately entered and began to carry the chests away. Hurriedly, Manager Sun stood up in an attempt to stop them. You can't. We cannot do it like this. These are profound armaments worth millions of gold. Your Royal Highness Crown Prince, you cannot rob those treasures like so. Ayo. As Manager Sun attempted to block the entrance, he was effortlessly kicked to the side by the Crown Prince's imperial bodyguard. He was unable to stand up. It was chaos outside of the storeroom. Watching from the side, Huang Yuli continuously shook her head. 1,000-treasure pavilion really was a small business in a small country. Facing the Crown Prince's attitude, Manager Sun was frightened to the extremes. It was just far too embarrassing. There were numerous businesses within Tianling continent who held profound backgrounds, and they also possessed great power, not to mention the Crown Prince. Even if it were a 9th-layer pinnacle practitioner at the Emperor Profound Realm, they would not dare to act arrogantly in their presence. They all needed to obediently follow the set rules. If they dared to act like this, they would definitely be unable to bring the food home to eat. Huang Yuli could only shake her head in disappointment. She assumed that Manager Sun could make the Crown Prince obediently pay the sum without her assistance. Jumping down from the chest, she dusted of any dirt on her skirt and lightly spoke out. Your Royal Highness. She had only spoken a few words before the weather suddenly changed. Bang! 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 They heard a few loud sounds before a few people were knocked to the ground. They were like dead dogs, not moving a muscle. Looking closely, you would see they were the Crown Prince's imperial bodyguards who had just exited the storeroom. Knocked unconscious, they were sent flying back inside. Those still inside the storeroom were shocked by what they saw. A group of black-clothed guards silently entered. By their attitudes, they seemed to have surrounded the storeroom. You people, The Crown Prince subconsciously took a step back. He was someone who had experienced the world, so a single glance told him these people were not ordinary. These guards, each and every single one, possessed superior auras, possessing unfathomably deep cultivations. Not only this, they all held cold and extreme killing intents. This kind of grandeur could only be emitted by those who had experienced countless bloody battles, using years to hone themselves on the battlefield before reaching such a height. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli also raised her eyebrows, for she had already recognized the leader of the group. He was MOC, the subordinate of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's owner. He came with impeccable timing. When Huang Yuli thought of their supporting master, her lips subconsciously rose into a curve. She herself did not notice this. Each and every guard stood quietly in position at the entrance. They did not make any further movements or sounds. But this eerie silence caused the others to feel an unnatural chill. Silently, MOC walked inside. His gaze naturally landed on Manager Sunday. Manager Sun, you may go rest. Following his words, the trembling Manager Sun was escorted to a chair in the side of the room. After his was settled, MOC's gaze turned to the Crown Prince. His tone frigid. Your Highness, daring to create a disturbance in our Thousand Treasure Pavilion. You are the first. MOC was at the fourth stage, the Dan Profound Realm. Due to the large disparity between their cultivations, it took all of the Crown Prince's willpower to not retreat. His legs had already softened from fright. So you are the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilions? The Crown Prince asked with some reservations. MOC did not speak, but returned the question with an icy gaze. Although the Crown Prince could not bear such a tremendous pressure, he still forced himself to speak out. Great owner, this prince does not wish to cause such a ruckus in Thousand Treasure Pavilion. But it's all. It was Manager Sun who took this too far. Originally, the Crown Prince planned on accusing Thousand Treasure Pavilion of misconduct. But as soon as he saw MOC's awe-inspiring aura, he immediately shifted his intentions. He pinned all blame on Manager Sun's head. Hurriedly, he continued to speak. In hopes of selling the profound armament for a higher price, Manager Sun actually ordered a waiter to purposely disturb this prince, resulting in this prince's astronomical figure. This kind of thing were to spread out, it would ruin Thousand Treasure Pavilion's reputation. You should give this prince a proper explanation, right? Just previously, the Crown Prince had used an imposing tone to speak. But now, he was using a negotiative tone to gain a bit of justice. MOC replied, how do you wish for us to explain this? Since this is an issue relating to an auction bid, the bid can no longer be valid. As for this profound armor set, this prince will purchase it for 10 million silvers. Then this problem can be overlooked and forgotten. Originally, the Crown Prince had planned to use the reasoning of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, abusing its power to present to him an optimal result. With that in mind, he would be able to openly snatch a set of profound armor home. But with the situation turning to such a degree, he no longer dared to make such a request. Taking any advantages was no longer possible. At that very moment, all the Crown Prince wished to do was to minimize his losses as much as possible. That being said, MOC coldly laughed in response. Your Highness, there are two things you were mistaken in. At a loss, the Crown Prince stared at MOC, a dreadful sense of unease rising within. MOC immediately followed with, the first mistake. The owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion is my family's master. I'm merely a bodyguard. Your Highness, you have recognized the wrong person. What? The Crown Prince cried out in surprise. When he saw MOC's cultivation and aura, it was one that clearly belonged to an expert, his pressure easily suppressing the weak. Because of this, he unknowingly assumed MOC to be the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, while in reality, such a powerful cultivator was merely a bodyguard. Then the master that he spoke of, what universally shocking person would he be? You can also listen on. At that point, the Crown Prince truly began to feel fear. Thousand Treasure Pavilion's power had reached such a frightening degree. They were so strong that if they wished to squash him, it would be as simple as squashing an ant. But how could this be? Why would such a large power settle in such a small country like Southview and host an auction here? Out of all possibilities, the Crown Prince would not guess that the reason behind the purchase for that mysterious expert did it all to simply gain the affections of his beloved little fox. MOC continued to speak expressionlessly. Secondly, what right do you have to speak fairness with Thousand Treasure Pavilion? You say we are scamming you? Where is the evidence? Who can hold witness for you? This, the Crown Prince was unable to reply. If it were in more normal situations, he would have definitely replied with, "This prince's words are evidence." But in the face of such a dominating expert, he did not have the courage to be so daring. Furthermore, with Manager Sun's earlier words of confirming the crowd had heard his words, he was unable to find any witness. Wait, there was one person. The Crown Prince suddenly turned around, his line of sight falling onto Bai Ruoqi's body. Second young Miss Bai can bear witness for this prince. During their exchange, Bai Ruoqi constantly withdrew her body and presence in order to not be noticed. She did not expect the Crown Prince to still call her out after so much expended effort. Cold sweat ran down her forehead and pale face. MOC coldly said, "Oh, second young Miss Bai, you could be a witness? What kind of evidence do you have to prove that Thousand Treasure Pavilion scammed you?" Bai Ruoqi glanced at the Crown Prince, then at MOC. Both men returned her glances with icy ones. They focused their attention all to her, causing her to feel panicked and frightened. She really wished she could vanish at that instant. If she were to speak out for the Crown Prince, those fiend-like bodyguards might lash out at her. With such strength, they would be able to completely disregard her status as some young lady from a marquis household. Who knows what they will do to her? But if she did not help the Crown Prince would not let her and Wu Wei manor off. This was what you call being unable to advance or retreat. The longer Bai Ruoqi refused to speak, the colder the Crown Prince's gaze became. MOC sorrowfully spoke. "Your Highness, looks like this lady companion cannot bear witness to your claims. Your claims of scam towards this shop, and your disturbance-raising actions that affected the reputation of this shop. Not to mention your intentions to go back on your debt in order to snatch away the goods. For such actions, this shop and the Chamber of Commerce shall not deal with this leniently. Today's affairs cannot end like this." His gaze lifeless, the Crown Prince was devoid of any fighting spirit. Bai Ruoqi's refusal to speak only served to confirm that he was framing Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Not only was he speaking conceited nonsense, he was also caught in the act of snatching away treasures today. It was due to a moment's mistake. He did not properly investigate Thousand Treasure Pavilion's powerful background first. Head lowered, the Crown Prince bowed slightly and said in a respectful tone, "This great lord is, I have eyes but failed to see Mount Tai. I have angered your family's master. I ask you to please placate your anger. If there is anything I can do, please feel free to speak out. I will do my utmost to compensate you." In the face of such power, the Crown Prince wholeheartedly acknowledged his defeat. The corners of Huang Yuli rose up. This show was quite enjoyable to watch, she thought, and the conclusion was just how she imagined it to be. You can also listen on. In regards to the issue between the Crown Prince and Thousand Treasure Pavilion, it was not a matter of who was right and who was wrong, but who was more powerful. If the Crown Prince was the stronger party, no matter how unwillingly Thousand Treasure Pavilion would be, they could only admit defeat, even if that meant having those treasures taken away. But the current conclusion was Thousand Treasure Pavilion who held the upper hand. The Crown Prince could only suffer the loss. Internally, the Crown Prince was very unresigned. But in the face of such an overwhelming power, he could only bow his head. There was no alternate path to take. With the power of the Thousand Treasure Pavilion's owner, annihilating South, you would be as simple as raising a hand. It was barely acceptable for himself to be humiliated. But if he were to implicate the royal family as well, he would become a person condemned through the ages. He could only pray for the magnanimity of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's owner now, praying that he would not be too excessive in his demands. Emotionlessly, MOC said, "My master has asked me to pass on a word. As the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, this is the first time he has met someone daring enough to cause such a ruckus. Crown Prince, you are the first. So if things were to be resolved this easily, then we would no longer be able to conduct business in the future. On the face of South U's royal family, as long as the Crown Prince is willingly to pay the reparations, then major issues can become small ones." Yes, yes, yes. The Crown Prince hastily nodded his head in agreement. Wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, the Crown Prince cautiously asked, "This should be. It should be. May I ask how much do I have to pay?" 10 million. The Crown Prince let out a loud gasp. He felt a large stone fall heavily in his heart. 10 million. Although it was a large lion's bite at him, it was still a sum within his boundaries. If he were able to pass this affair with that much silvers, then it was still worthwhile. Gold! MOC indifferently opened his mouth to finish his previous statement. What? The Crown Prince's eyes bulged wide open. MOC coldly said, 10 million gold. In 10 days' time, deliver it to Thousand Treasure Pavilion without a single gold less. Otherwise, don't blame our family's master of being ruthless. 10 million gold? The Crown Prince's voice began to shake and waver. Distinguished sir, it is not that I am unwillingly, but 10 million gold, is it not? Not a bit too much? I truly cannot take out so much. Devoid of any emotions, MOC replied. Your Highness Crown Prince, please do not misunderstand. Currently, it is you who does not wish for this affair to become bigger. Whether or not you can take out that much, it not with the considerations of my master. This concludes the conditions of my master. Currently, you have two choices. Comply with my master's demands and quietly pay your debt. Or, you can suffer the wrath of my master. Startled, the Crown Prince shivered. He did not dare to say a single word further. Yes, yes, yes. I will definitely complete it. He wished he could cry, but the Crown Prince had no tears to cry. In comparison to those worldly things, of course it was his own life that was more important than South U's treasury. He was not someone who failed to accept favors bestowed them. But where should he take this amount from? He himself did not possess that much. If he wished to repay this debt, he must take out all the taxes saved within the royal treasury these years, in order to fill up that black hole. But how is he going to explain to his royal father that he had unintentionally offended such a formidable and frightening existence? If this news were to travel to the ears of his royal family, his own position of Crown Prince would be uncertain. MOC continued in his cold tone. Since you understand this, I asked the Crown Prince to leave, but the Crown Prince did not move. Hesitating for a long time, his gaze traveled to MOC and then to the 13 chests behind him. Within those chests were the set pieces of his profound armor set. You can also listen on. That profound armor. After a great mental debate, the Crown Prince still decided to ask hesitatingly. Profound armor? MOC sneered. Your Highness Crown Prince have made a mistake? You caused such a commotion and problem in Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Do you think that the master will still sell you the profound armor? Isn't this a bit too much? Being so ruthlessly ridiculed by a lower-class bodyguard, the Crown Prince could not continue to remain here. He did not where he would put his face, but he was just too unwillingly. That profound armor, after dreaming about it for so long and seeing it just about land in his hands, due to a moment's brainlessness slipping right through his fingers. If he had heard Manager Sun's words earlier, then he would only needed to use 10 million silvers. Then he would have obtained it. If he could retreat 1,000 steps, he would have not forcefully attempted to take advantage of Thousand Treasure Pavilion and instead quietly paid the 3 million gold. This profound armament would then be within his grasp. Unlike his current predicament, squandering 10 million gold like so, yet still failing to obtain the item, Unfortunately, there was no such thing as a medicine for regret. As the crown prince was in the midst of despair and resignation, a young girl's voice suddenly sounded. "This brother guard, your 1,000 treasure pavilion. Isn't it a bit too unjust if you do solve it like that?" Very clearly, His Royal Highness had successfully bid and obtained that item. So the contract between him and yourself had already been established. How can you go back and decide not to sell it on a whim? If you act like this, how can we believe your words in the future? The young girl's voice was extremely pleasing to listen to. It sounded an oriole's clear and melodious call as it exited the valley. A rare reveal of astonishment was displayed on Mo's usually emotionless face. That was because the young who spoke out was none other than the little fox that his master constantly yearned for. The one who was highly likely to become his mistress, third young Miss Bai. Regardless of how Moc would predict, he could not foresee that she would speak out at such a time. Judging from the tone of her words, she intended to go against him as well. "Third young Miss Bai, your intention is..." Seamlessly, Mod lowered his head and changed his tone to a more respectful one. Walking to the space between the two, she loudly said, "Guard big brother, although His Royal Highness the Crown Prince was a bit hasty in his actions, but he is still willingly to pay the 10 million gold. Does that not show enough of his sincerity? Since this is the case, why can you not be magnanimous?" They were not running a charity. Why should they be magnanimous? In the Tianling continent, the strong ruled. There was no such thing of pitying the weak. Moc was completely uncertain as to what this future mistress of his planned on doing. Though no matter how confused he became, he remembered the order of his master. Regardless of what third young Miss Bai wishes to do, you must not disobey her orders. If you make third young Miss Bai unhappy. When Moc recalled Mochi's end, he couldn't help himself as a cold shiver ran down his spine. Probingly, he said, "Third young Miss Bai." Quickly giving him an eye roll, Huang Yuli used her eyes to indicate at the crown prince, telling him not to be so obvious. She did not wish to reveal her identity so early. Lightly coughing, Moc hurriedly followed his earlier call. "Third young Miss Bai, you are a VIP guest of 1,000 treasure pavilion, and this affair is not related to you. I ask you to not meddle and leave as soon as possible." Raising her chin, Huang Yuli replied to him, "This affair, I must meddle. Tell me, is 1,000 treasure pavilion this unprincipled? Are you planning to forcibly snatch back the treasure after selling it? Or is it because you feel that citizens of our south you are easy to bully?" You can also listen on. When the crown prince heard this, he suddenly turned around and stared at Huang Yuli's little face. His eyes flashed with excitement. "Third young Miss Bai, you did not expect you would speak for this prince." The crown prince was really touched. Just a moment ago, he had made the preparations to pay that sum. So he did not expect for Huang Yuli to come forward at such a crucial moment. Compared to the silent Bai Ruoqi, Huang Yuli's action seemed very righteousness. Did not think there would be such a woman in this world. All color had drained from Bai Ruoqi's face. She could not understand why the usually cowardly as a mouse, Bai Ruoli, would become so bold lately. In the face of such a dominating master, not the slightest bit of slightest fear could be seen. It even attracted the crown prince's eyes. Many alarms began to ring within Bai Ruoqi's heart, but she did not have any methods of interception. She could only secretly curse Huang Yuli in her heart. With her bold and provocative behavior, it would mostly likely anger Moc. Best case scenario, he would immediately kill her. Everything would be perfect. Moc helplessly looked at Huang Yuli from a distance. When he saw her fearless of death countenance, completely into her act, he could only play along with her act. So, according to third young Miss Bai's point of view, what should 1,000 treasure pavilion do? In order to make this just and fair? Huang Yuli replied, "This, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's debt, although it cannot decrease, but at the same time, he did successful bid that profound armor. This and that are two different things. So compensation will be compensation, and auctioned items shall be auctioned items. As long as His Royal Highness can take out 3 million gold as payment, then that profound armor should rightfully be his. Raising her head in a righteous, awe-inspiring manner, Huang Yuli grandiosely spoke. MOC always knew she was not a kind person. Could you not see that even his family's master was firmly planted within her grasp? Thinking for a moment, MOC suddenly cried out in surprise. Hurriedly he said, "What third young miss by said is reasonable. Then we shall do it according to what you suggested." He turned to the crown prince. "Within 10 days, deliver 13 million gold to 1,000 Treasure Pavilion. Then I will allow you to take this set of profound armor. But remember, do not think about playing tricks or delaying the time. Otherwise, the wrath of my family's master, your entire nation south you will not be able to bear." Following his warning, MOC waved his sleeves. From behind him, a few guards approached the crown prince, half forcing him to go. Although the crown prince owed a large amount of debt, but when he thought how he finally was able to obtain that profound armor, it eased his heart a bit, making the loss seem a bit smaller. Before leaving, he did not forget to gratefully nod at Huang Yuli. Following closely behind the crown prince by Ruo Qi also left. She also did not forget to hatefully glare at Huang Yuli. Huang Yuli was the last one to exit through the door. Following that, MOC commanded a few guard remain to assist Manager Sun in keeping order. While he personally followed not too far behind Huang Yuli walking from the side, she could see the crown prince's back figure from far away. Before he and Bai Ruoqi had left 1,000 Treasure Pavilion, they had already begun to quarrel. Bai Ruoqi stood pale-faced at the side, while the crown prince angrily left in a flourish of his sleeves. TSK, it seems that the pair's relationship is not all that good. A small misunderstanding like this was able to cause a falling out. Young people nowadays, Huang Yuli commented while shaking her head. MOC looked at her embarrassedly, whispering, "Third young Miss Bai." Huang Yuli looked at him oddly and asked, "MOC, why are you following me? You can also listen on." MOC's beautiful eyebrows arched up. Incomparably respectful was his attitude towards her. It was almost the same type of treatment he gave towards his master. "Third young Miss Bai, just then, why did you would like to ask why I spoke on behalf of the crown prince?" Huang Yuli pricked up her eyebrows. Yes. This subordinate is dull, so third young miss please advise." Stupid back to your family," Huang Yuli ruthlessly reprimanded with great disdain. Today, the only reason why this set of profound armor could sell for 3 million gold price was all due to the crown prince's stupidity. Given a change in occasion, how could it possibly sell for so much? Yet you wish to strap down the item, not selling it to the crown prince? Where do you expect me to go and find such a large sum of money? MOC replied in realization. So it was like this. Mouth hooking into a curve, Huang Yuli said, "Besides, how much will the crown prince thank me? Just for me saying a few helping words, ah? Did you not see his tears of joy? These kind of easy-to-obtain advantages, how can I not take it?" Drawing out his lips, MOC's heart suddenly held great amounts of sympathy for the crown prince. What is called being sold by others yet still helping them count the money? The crown prince was a perfect embodiment of that. Completing her explanation, Huang Yuli cast him a glance. "Understood? Understood. Any more questions?" "No more questions. That being the case, why are you still following me for? You can go do what you need to do." She waved her hand as she said this. MOC bowed his head. "Under the orders of the master, this subordinate is to ensure your safety. I cannot leave." Huang Yuli faintly smiled and said, "To ensure my safety? I see. He is afraid I will run away. So he sent you to monitor me?" A few drops of cold sweat ran down MOC's face. "Third young Miss Bai, you misunderstood." "I did not misunderstand. But I want to find a place to change my clothes. Are you sure you want to follow me? If you see something you should not see, I do not need to make a move, and your shop's owner will chop you into 8 pieces, no?" "Ah? What?" The always calm and silent MOC, who was usually very adept at predicting the master's mind, found his IQ to be very low today. In front of his future mistress, he had repeatedly acted like an idiot, completely unable to keep up with her mindset. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, MOC realized that Huang Yuli was not playing with him. Searching for a spare room, Huang Yuli took out of a set of prepared clothes and a box. Very quickly, she changed her appearance. Shortly afterwards, she changed into the weak and thin appearance of the youth who had come to Thousand Treasure Pavilion to sell those profound armaments. She was preparing to go meet Manager Sun and collect her money. Manager Sun did not know her true identity. She also did not intend to expose herself as that mysterious and legendary armament master. So this disguise was still necessary. Inside the storeroom, Manager Sun had just taken a few medicinal pills and hot tea to calm himself before continuing to arrange delivery for the guests' items. Manager Sun, Huang Yuli pushed open the door and entered. Manager Sun was in the midst of receiving the princess of the largest kingdom, South Chu. She had bid for a third-level lower grade 9 part whip. After accepting her goods, she was in the process of discussing the appropriate maintenance routine. Hearing the sound of the door opening, the princess looked back to see a surprisingly young boy with dark skin wearing a fluttering gray robe. She wrinkled her brow, reprimanding. "Who is that? Do you not see this princess is currently talking with Manager Sun? Not even knocking on the door and audaciously entering on your own accord? You can also listen on." Folding her arms across her chest, Huang Yu leaned on the doorpost without saying a word. Manager Sun also knitted his eyebrows together. "I am currently receiving an important customer. Whatever you need to discuss, we can discuss it later." As soon as he finished his words, a person's footsteps were still heard. Impatiently, Manager Sun turned his head to ask, "What is the matter? Hurry up," and when he saw the figure at the doorway, Manager Sun's words stopped in his throat. On his face was complete shock. "What is wrong, Manager Sun?" Seeing that his reaction was not right, Princess Ziyu asked, baffled. Manager Sun did not reply to her question. Instead, he quickly stood up and went to welcome the guests. "Master Huang, so it was you who came? Such a rare visitor. Please come in, come in. Please sit here." Turning his head, he called for a serving hand. "Come, someone come and pour tea for Master Huang. What are you dawdling around for? Faster, faster. Also, bring out the dragon heart tea that we received yesterday." In a flustered manner, Manager Sun began to order around and usher the guest inside. When the tea arrived, he respectfully delivered it to Huang Yuli. "Master Huang, this dragon heart tea is a speciality of our South Yu. Even within the large Tianling continent, it has quite a reputation. Just 50 grams is able to sell for 100 silvers. Furthermore, this was freshly picked this year, so its taste would be even better. Please try it." Sitting at the side, Princess Ziyu looked on with wide eyes. She was unable to conceal her astonishment. As a stately princess, Manager had always been very courteous in his treatment towards her, but he had never treated her in such a fawning and humble manner. What was this youth's background? Why did Manager Sun treat him so respectfully? Was he another kingdom's prince? But judging from his clothes, weren't they too ordinary? Huang Yuli indifferently looked at Manager Sun, but did not take the offered cup. Instead, she said, "Manager Sun, the auction has already ended. I have come on behalf of the master. As for my purpose, I am sure you are also clear. I ask you those idle persons to first wait a bit. Then I invite Master Huang to the private room to discuss this." "That's fine." Huang Yuli nodded her head in response. Who are you calling an idle person that can wait?" Being ignored so completely like so, and classified into the ranks of an idle person who can wait around, Princess Ziyu became displeased. Hurriedly, Manager Sun apologized. "I am sorry to ask Princess Ziyu to wait a moment. This one has business to handle first." At the moment, Manager Sun did not have the time to deal with the displeased Princess Ziyu. His attention was all focused on Huang Yuli as he ushered her into the private room. For Princess Ziyu, she could not fathom why a youth would be more important than her, a stately princess. To be cast away to the side so easily by Manager Sunday, extremely angered, she heavily slammed the teacup onto the table. Pa! It sounded heavily. The suddenly sound and action startled the maid who had come to pour tea for her. Your Highness, Princess, please quell your anger. Let me ask you, Princess Z turned to ask that maid. That prince just then, do you recognize him? This servant does not. But I did meet him before. She bowed in response. Oh, who is he? Your Royal Highness, Princess. That prince is said to be an armament master. For those third-leveled armaments sold in today's auction, they were all refined by Prince Huang's master. Last time, he came in the place of his master to sell those armaments. Many people were present and witnessed this. Princess Ziyu was surprised by this news. What? He is the disciple of that great armament master? It was no wonder Manager's son treated him with such great reverence. She couldn't help but inwardly rejoice, rejoicing that she did not clash with that Prince Huang earlier. The purpose of her trip to the auction was not only to purchase an armament, but she also wished to request that master to forge a personal armament for herself. If she were to offend his disciple here today, then that request would become many times harder to achieve. You can also listen on. Once Huang Yu Li and Manager's son entered the private room, she immediately opened the doors to see the mountain, going straight to the point. Manager's son, I have come under the orders of my master to receive the payment. This auction was very successful today. To be able to auction those items at such high prices, you have made a great effort. His face filled with smiles. Manager's son modestly replied, I dare not accept. Dare not accept. It is all due to the great master's quality products. Only then were they able to sell for such a value. Our 1,000 treasure pavilion only lit the available fuse. Huang Yuli nodded her head in response. In my previous trip, I passed a sheet of paper with a list of herbs for you to gather. I do not know if you have collected everything yet. Manager's son confidently replied, of the herbs you requested, a vast majority has been gathered, as our store has a ready supply. There are a few third and fourth leveled herbs that were a bit difficult to purchase, but we have already received the items from various surrounding countries. There is just one. Oh. On the list, the herb flame cloud pearl is not really a plant. It's more of a fire attributed crystallized, or that is used for its medicinal properties and very rare. Not only can it be used to refine pills, it is also very useful for armament masters. It is a 6th level material. Peeping at Huang Yuli's reaction, Manager's son continued to speak cautiously and prudently. Master Huang, in such a small country like our own, it is virtually impossible for us to purchase 6th level materials. After sending out people to search in all of the various countries, we have yet to successfully find any. I really am truly sorry. He was very afraid that this Master Huang would mistakenly think they did not use all their energy to search. But Huang Yuli's face remained calm. She had long foreseen the result of this herb hunt. A 6th level material could only be purchased in a few large and influential cities of the South Sky region. For a small country like South Yu, the percentage of its appearance was close to 0. It would be normal if they would not be able to find it. But she urgently needed that flame cloud pearl because she needed it to cleanse and reshape her marrow. In the process of changing her physique, the most important was a herb center. If she did not have this component, her meridians would have no method of linking up. She would then remain as a cultivational wastrel. She has had enough of these unable to cultivate days. Although her circumstances were like so, no one was able to bully her. But if one were to compare the two, what would be more refreshing? To go and skirt around corners to strike, or directly striking? Feeling stifled, Huang Yuli couldn't help but wrinkle her eyebrows. Because Manager's son had wordlessly waited her reply. When he saw the creasing of her eyebrows, he assumed she had been angered. Panicking, he attempted to appease her. Master Huang, I ask you not to be angry. We definitely continue to use all our effort to search for you. Just a couple days ago, we had sent a few people to Sky Cloud City. They should be able to find it there. Huang Yuli continued to knit her eyebrows. For normal cultivators, it should take at least 2 months for a roundabout trip from South U to Sky Cloud City. The cauliflower dish would have long cooled by then. Do they not have other methods to hasten their pace? Is there really no flame cloud pearl in the vicinity? There is. Stopping, manager thought for a moment before his eyes brightened. That's right. Why did I not think of this earlier? What is the matter? He replied. Master Huang, I must say that this is quite a coincidence. Our Southview royal family has a 6th-level flame cloud pearl stored within their treasury. This is a treasure passed down through the generations. Ordinary people definitely will not be able to see it, but your master is a great armament master. If he were to personally negotiate with the emperor could not ignore him. Stroking her chin, Huang Yuli considered, since the location is known, then this will be easier to accomplish. Originally, she felt that the crown prince had already shouldered a large enough debt. It was enough for her to let off the royal family. But how was she to know that it would be this coincidental? You can also listen on. Although Huang Yuli held some complaints, she did not display it. Calmly, she said, since this is the case, deliver the gathered herbs to the carriage outside the door. I will bring them away with me. For the remaining sum, deduct it from Clear Jade Bank's black card. After listening to this, Manager Sun's face showed the color of embarrassment. Master Huang, this thing. I would like to ask for your forgiveness. What happened? Manager Sun hesitated. It is like this. Your profound armaments were all sold at exorbitant prices, while most buyers have paid their dues. That set of profound armor. Huang Yuli already knew what he wanted to say, but she pretended to be unaware. Impatiently, she said, what is wrong with the profound suit? I just saw the Southview prince spend 3,000,002 gold to purchase it. This price is very good. I presume my master will also be very satisfied. Yes, the price is good, but... Manager Sun wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has met with a little problem in regards to his cash flow. So, he wishes to deny his debts? Is Thousand Treasure Pavilion unable to make him pay his dues? If you have people who refuse to pay their debts, then I will not cooperate with you next time. Manager Sun hurriedly said, No, it is not like this. This account will be recovered. We just asked for a few days to collect the money. Huang Yuli nodded her head in acceptance. I will come back in 10 days to collect the money. Do not disappoint me. Manager Sun nodded again and again, feeling very blessed. Fortunately, the new owner's background was strong enough for the Crown Prince to cower in fear, or things would have really ended badly today. Offending a 5th-tiered armament master from a large sect was no joke. Checking her herbs, Huang Yuli nodded her head pleased. Of the herbs collected by Thousand Treasure Pavilion, each and every one were upper-class products. Whether it was the year or freshness, they were all perfect, enabling one to fully exert all of its properties. That's right, there is one more thing. As she opened her mouth, Huang Yuli startled Manager Sunday, Master Huang. What other commands do you have? When I came, Master told me to inform to carefully check for any problems before handing the profound armor over to the buyer. After all, the price is so high. If any issues in quality were to arise, it would tarnish the good name of my master. Manager Sun was momentarily surprised, but soon that surprise changed into joy. That would be too good. Exactly what we hope for. The profound armor is in the adjacent storehouse. Master Huang, please follow me. Manager Sun's heart was touched. Normally, even if they only at the first tier, the characters of these armament masters were all proud and haughty. Once a profound armament was sent to the Merchant Guild for sale, they would not be responsible for any issues or problems that arise later in the transaction. He did not expect a 5th-tier armament master would send his disciple for a quality check. Such responsible armament masters were really rare nowadays. Moreover, this was an item with deferred payment. Usually armament masters would not agree to such a method of payment. Yet this Master Huang did not put it in his mind. This is what you call both strong and valiant. But how was he to know that Huang Yuli's mouth hooked up as she followed behind him? And this smile was extremely black. Arriving at the storeroom, Huang Yuli expressed how she could not be disturbed during this time and ushered Manager Sun out. This was the rule of the profession, so Manager Sun did not take it to heart. After about half an hour later, Huang Yuli exited the storeroom. You can also listen on. Manager Sun, this suit has some small flaws which I have touched up, Huang Yuli slowly said. Manager Sun was moved. Master Huang, it has been hard you. When the Crown Prince receives his item, I would think he would be very pleasantly surprised. A dark smile flashed past Huang Yuli's face. Pleased? Of course he will be pleased, and it will be a great like too. However, the person who will receive this would mostly likely be the Crown Prince's opponent. But the Crown Prince should still feel honored, because not only has the Armament Master changed the intricate formations and markings they accomplished through technique only 7th tier or higher masters would be able to execute, to be used on such a suit of profound armor. He was the one to earn a profit. Looking at the sky, she said, the time is getting late now. I will first return. 10 days later, I will come and take the remaining 3 million gold. Manager Sun busily replied, please rest in the VIP room for a little as I go prepare the carriage to send you back. No need. I still plan to shop around the streets. Rejecting the kindness of Manager Sun, Huang Yuli then proceeded to look for an empty location. Finding one, she then stored the bags of herbs into the Sky Phoenix ring. Then she stuck 2 beards on her face and left 1,000 Treasure Pavilion through the crowd. As she reached the exit, she turned around to discover that MOC, without pause, had continued to loiter around the inner courtyard. A rare moment of sympathy went out to him. If this master were to discover he had lost sight of her, he would go scold MOC. Life wasn't easy for a subordinate. However, she did not wish to listen to that man's words. Waiting for him to pick her up? She was not a pet, so naturally she must quickly slip away. With the auction coming to a close, Huang Yuli believed that in the strength of the Lord, it would only be a matter of time before she received the complete account of her sold items. For the next few days, she must properly contemplate how to obtain that flame cloud pearl. Quite obviously, directly negotiating with the Emperor was impossible. After all, the so-called legendary master of some large sect was her own fictional creation. There was no method for him to reveal himself. While she was the nationally renowned wastrel, it would be strange if the Emperor would agree to a meeting with her. More importantly, the flame cloud pearls were precious 6th-level materials, and they were one of the more in-demand materials. Even if the Emperor was willing to strike a deal with her, she needed an armament at the 5th level or higher for exchange. With her current cultivation, this was impossible to do, so that only left one way. That is to steal it, but it is not easy to steal. The royal treasury was the treasure room of the South Yu royal family. Obviously, the defensive mechanisms and protectors would not be lacking either. But for Huang Yuli, these defenses were nothing but parlor tricks. Not worth mention, easily undone. It was the guards of the royal treasury that would be the headache. According to her recent inquiry, South Yu has 2 4th-stage and profound realm cultivators. They were the 2 strongest people in the country. One of their duties was to guard the imperial palace. The other was the safekeeping of the royal treasury. In addition to this, there was a team of golden scale guards stationed there. Each member was a defensive profound realm practitioners, while the 3 captains were at the spirit profound realm. To her current waste constitution, direct confrontation was also out of the question. Fortunately, she had another way. In the blink of an eye, Huang Yuli shut herself in her room for 7 days, refining various profound armaments. Later that evening, she stealthily snuck to a nearby canyon for a scout. You can also listen on. Seven days later, it was a dark and windy night. Bending her waist like a cat, Huang Yuli half lay on the edge of the slope, attentively surveying from above. Waiting until the patrol guard had left, she revealed herself. In accordance to her observations these last few days, the guards will switch shifts at midnight. During this process, this area will have a window of half an hour without any kind of supervision. It was the optimal chance for her. The entire land of the treasury was covered with a protection formation. But this could not pose any obstruction towards Huang Yuli calmly. She walked into the range of the protective formation quietly without activating any alarms. At the entrance of the royal treasury, there was a spirit profound realm practitioner standing guard. This was obviously out of the possible entry routes. Huang Yuli chose a ventilation vent that only had 2/3 level defensive profound realm guards on duty. What? The guard who was on duty was puzzled to see something flash by him not too far away. Unfortunately, before he could react, he felt an unusual cool sensation on his neck. In the next instant, his body froze while his eyes bulged open while looking forward. While the other guard also responded too late. Before he knew it, a dagger had already slit his throat. She wiped the blood on the guard's clothes and murmured, careless, as expected of not possessing any profound chi. I nearly alerted others. Taking out a grappling claw, she threw it onto the wall. Then, using her body's propulsion force, she climbed up 5 meters up the wall and into the vent. Landing lightly inside the treasury, Huang Yuli looked around. On the first floor was a variety of gold and silver treasures. Piles of jewelry, calligraphy, pearls the sizes of dragon eyes adorned the room. The sight simply bedazzled the eyes. Although Southview is a small country, but it still seems to be quite rich. It should not be a problem for the crown prince to take out 13 million gold. It is not enough to give him thoughts of denying the debt. As for the objects in front of her eyes, Huang Yuli had no use for them. Furthermore, it would not be convenient for her to carry around. Too lazy to look around further, she went upstairs. On the second floor were magic cores from various demonic beasts from all attributes. The multitude of colors lay packed in all areas of the room. This time, Huang Yuli looked for a bit longer. As the demonic beasts absorbed the profound chi of the world, they condensed to form the magic crystals or cores within their bodies. There is a whole range of uses for these cores. Not only could you absorb it into your body, it was greatly useful for armament masters as well. For profound armaments and cores that shared the same attributes, could be socketed to increase the overall ability of the armament. Southview is located at the southernmost tip of the Tianling continent. And right next to it is the Dark Moon Forest. The Dark Moon Forest is home to a variety of demonic beasts. As a result, many countries, including Southview, would have many adventurers and mercenaries passing through. They all seek to earn a profit from hunting in the Dark Moon Forest. In turn, this resulted in the magic core storage of Southview to be many times larger than several of the major powers within South Sky region. But the levels of these magic cores are relatively low. The vast majority at the first and second tier. There was very few third tier's cores, while fourth tier numbered in the dozen or so. As she passed by, Huang Yuli conveniently took the fourth-tiered magic cores and then went upstairs. The third floor mainly housed low-grade materials, the fourth floor low-grade profound armaments. No holding any interest to any of these things, she went straight up to the fifth floor. On the fifth floor was the deposit of the most precious and priceless items of Southview, so that the entrance was filled with elaborate defensive mechanisms and markings. As long as someone entered their range, it would immediately trigger the life-threatening traps, killing without a doubt. You can also listen on. For Huang Yuli, this was exactly what she wished for. The more traps and formations in a specific location, the less guards would be stationed on patrol, and these tricks would not be able to hinder her. At the entrance to the fifth floor's treasury room, a spirit profound realm captain personally lead a squadron of guards around for patrol. Moreover, each guard was at the 7th level of the defensive profound realm or higher. With such cultivations, it would be difficult for Huang Yuli to face against them, even if she was given the opportunity to a 1v1 battle. But she did not panic. Hidden within a remote corner, she patiently waited. In the instant the captain turned his body, she conveniently threw out a rock. Crisply, it clacked along the entranceway of the treasury room. Who? Who was over there? Hearing the sound, the captain hastily turned and led his group to the origin of the sound. Before they could come close, an ear-piercing sound of metal rang in their ears. At the same time, traps planted along the side of the doors were set off. Rows and rows of arrows were shot out, flying straight towards them. Due to the high quality of these traps, even a fourth-staged expert at the damn profound realm would find themselves hard-pressed to escape from those incoming arrows. As for those patrol guards, they were instantly shot to the ground, their life or deaths unknown. Hiding in the corner, Huang Yuli was not injured in the slightest. She waited until everyone had been shot down before revealing herself from the shadows. Booby traps are a double-edged blade. Since it can harm others, it can also harm yourself. Arranging for oblivious guards to patrol the area, is that not directly sending them to their deathbeds? This Emperor of South Yu's stupidity goes all the way back to his predecessors. Dexterously, Huang Yuli avoided 10 different traps and cautiously took down the lock. A feeble call drifted from behind her. Turning around, Huang Yuli saw the captain clutching his stomach whilst pierced by countless arrows, but he had yet to kick the bucket. Instead, his eyes were firmly locked onto Huang Yuli in great surprise. Never in his wildest dreams did he dare believe that someone would so effortlessly bypass all the set traps and formations. Like they were talking a leisurely walk in the royal treasury. Her eyes flashing, Huang Yuli used her piercing sky-eye technique. You are in a dream. Once you awaken, you will not remember any of this, she smoothly said. His gaze becoming fuzzy, the captain collapsed unconsciously into a heap. Within the treasury room, there were only 5 rooms. Within each of the 5 rooms was a single treasure. Entering the first room, Huang Yuli discovered only a small medicine bottle placed within the center. It contained 3 red-colored pills. Pouring it out, she took a sniff and revealed a smile. 5th leveled lower-grade blood-rousing pill. It can forcibly arouse one's blood and qi to assist a 4th-stage practitioner to break through to the 5th stage. A good thing. Stowing the pills away, she entered the second room. The object inside this room left her a bit disappointed. It's only a 5th-level middle-grade profound weapon. Firmament Fire Spiritual Blade. A 5th-level middle-grade profound armament could be considered a higher-class object within South Sky region. Even more so within South Yu, as it is considered to be a godly-class treasure. But for Huang Yuli, this was not much. As long as her cultivation reached a certain level, she could effortlessly refine countless products at the same level or higher. Entering the third room, her eyes finally lit up. Flame Cloud Pearl. I finally found you. With great ease and familiarity, she broke the restrictions and retrieved the Flame Cloud Pearl. Solemnly, she put it away, knowing she could soon begin to cultivate. Huang Yuli couldn't help herself but become boundlessly happy. However, just as she was preparing to leave, a series of loud noises echoed from outside the treasure room. You can also listen on. Paying our respects to the Emperor. Kowtowing to the Emperor. This one is Tianjung Yong of the Golden Scaled Guards, pays his respects to the Emperor. A chorus of voices echoed from afar. Her heart jumping, Huang Yuli knew that something was amiss. After thousands of 10,000 calculations, with all sorts of preparations to ensure a 90% chance of success, did she settle to come today. Yet the Emperor chose today, of all days, to come to the royal treasury. Who knew what kind of wild thought possessed him to make him decide to come on this very night for an inspection? She had inquired before. In a year, it would be rare for the Emperor to come once. Even if he did come, it would be during the day. What was going on tonight? Were the heavens deliberately going against her? Beloved official, please rise. The purpose of Zhen's visit tonight is to take out the 5th level's black level upper grade profound skill, the Marrow Cleansing Scripture. I wonder if this profound skill is still being kept? General Tian hastily answered him. Rest assured, my emperor. The royal treasury is secure as a castle, surrounded by metal walls and a boiling moat. Regardless of cultivation, they can only dream of entering. The treasure is definitely in pristine condition. This one will immediately go and retrieve it over for the emperor. Please wait a moment. And I have troubled you, my beloved official. The emperor nodded his head in satisfaction. It was clear of his great faith in the royal treasury's defenses. As she heard the footsteps near, Huang Yuli that it would be a great feat to slip away tonight. Narrowing her eyes, she covered her face in a black cloth and immediately left the room. However, she was still a step too late. The speed of the emperor and his entourage were much faster than she anticipated. Just as she arrived at the steps of the 5th floor, she saw the crowd of people surrounding a middle-aged man dressed in a golden robe walking in her direction. Halting her steps, Huang Yuli shifted her body and hid into a nook. If she were to leave now, she would definitely bump into them. Her only choice was to hide herself before finding a method of escape. And, just as she expected, just as she hid herself, she heard a high-pitched, angry rebuke. What is going on? Captain Chow, what is wrong with you? We're done for. Someone has snuck into the royal treasury. How could this be? When did they enter? Why weren't the guards alerted of this intruder? Captain Chow is a spirit-profound realm practitioner, while the other Golden Scale guards are at the 7th level of the defensive profound realm or higher. Were they instantly defeated? My lord, hurry up and look. The door of the treasure room has already been opened. Could it be? The items inside have. Everyone on site immediately became fearful. One by one, they cried out in fear. As waves of fearful discussion passed by, everyone finally realized the emperor was still standing there. At this point, they gradually shut their mouths. Ashen-faced, the emperor looked on into the empty treasure room. He was speechless. Cold sweat appeared on General Tian. His 2 eyes fearfully softened, and he knelt to the ground. Just half an incense stick ago, he was boasting in front of the emperor how the royal treasury was secure as a castle surrounded by metal walls and a boiling moat. Immediately after his proclamation, he was heavily slapped. The royal treasury was of utmost importance. It was protected by 5 layers of protective measures, a place of great concealment and protective. Yet it was robbed by intruders. While the powerful squadron of Golden Scale guards were also wiped out, they could not even send out a signal before being defeated. Clenching his teeth, the emperor spoke. Where did this thief come from? Such large guts they have. Dare to rob the royal treasury. They have completely disregarded Jun from their eyes. And you, did you not say that the treasures were all in pristine condition? What about now? General Tian repeatedly kowtowed. This servant deserves death. Your Royal Highness, please spare me. Ruthlessly, the emperor looked at him. Immediately go and investigate for Jun. Go and find his thief with heavenly courage. Recover all lost treasures. Otherwise, Jun will not spare you. You can also listen on. Finishing, the emperor walked away with a swish of his sleeves. Surviving this ordeal, the general crawled up from the ground with a furious expression. This godforsaken thief. He could hide from the eyes of this general and sneak in here, equivalent to moving against the lord of this place. I must capture you and grind your bones to dust. Raising his head, he saw his guards shivering in fear from the side. This caused him to become further angered. What you still idling around for? All of you, go search for me. Seal all the gates and search the entire city household by household. We must capture that little thief. As she hid in the corner, Huang Yuli held her breath and decreased her presence. Inwardly, she prayed that General Tian would quickly bring his subordinates out to search. Afterwards, she would be able to flee in the chaos. The sounds of their footsteps softened as they left the 4th floor. Before she could let out a sigh of relief, she heard someone speak. Wait, General Tian, please wait a moment. Imperial tutor, may I ask? Don't be in such a hurry to leave. This thieving person, he may be still hidden within the royal treasury. Yet to leave! When Huang Yuli heard this analysis, a very bad premonition arose. Imperial tutor is one of the two peak experts of South Yu. At the fourth stage, the Dan Profound Realm, she did not expect the Emperor to bring him over as well. This caused the tables to be greatly in their favor. For her current concealment skill she was using, it would be ineffective towards those who were 4 stages above her in cultivation. Bluntly, her current tricks would be no longer useful in the face of this Dan Profound expert. As long as the Imperial tutor used a bit of consciousness, he would immediately be able to detect her presence. These bloodstains are still fresh. They have yet to completely dry up. Mostly likely, shortly after this thief made his move, and before he could escape, we arrived. Thus, he should still be in the vicinity. As the Imperial spoke out his analysis, his body suddenly shook and turned towards Huang Yuli's direction. Little thief, I know you are there, so hurry up and reveal yourself. Knowing she would not be able to escape, she openly said, Lord Imperial Tutor, you really are intelligent. Nothing can be hidden from your eyes. As she dragged out her words, a flurry of daggers flew out from her hands. Not good. This thief is too treacherous. Everyone look out. General Tian cried out. The Imperial tutor sneered. These petty tricks are your last struggles on the deathbed? It seems that you will not shed your tears unless you meet your grave. Striding out, he intended to personally take action and capture this thief. Unfortunately, those flying daggers were not aimed in his direction. Instead, they flew straight towards the great doors of the treasure room. Embedded deeply into the walls and floor of the room, many mechanisms were instantly activated. Crash! Fire spewed from several openings, turning the closest guards into balls of flame. Even the Imperial tutor's beard was set afire. Save me! Save me! Where did the fire come from? Hurry and extinguish the fire. Before the fire was extinguished, the floor in front of the treasure room collapsed on itself. Other guards fell into the hole. Ah! Save me, ah! God! What is going on? The scene was in total chaos, while Huang Yuli took the opportunity and went down the stairs, bolting to the exit. You can also listen on. After the Imperial tutor finally extinguished the flame on his beard, he discovered that the thief had disappeared without a trace. He had fled his field of vision. There he is! That damn thief has escaped. Chase! As he commanded the rest, the Imperial tutor had begun to give chase. Huang Yuli dashed madly away with all her effort, as she was not given even the slightest bit of breathing time. Although her footsteps had reached an insanely high speed, her fastest speed, she was not able to outrun the Imperial tutor. As an expert at the 4th stage, through just his profound chi, he would be able to instantly reach her. His movements was as if he was floating. Without panicking in the face of death, Huang Yuli's hands blurred as another wave of daggers flew out to activate another set of traps. From the roof, a metal net dropped and trapped the Imperial tutor. Taking the chance, Huang Yuli once again dashed away. At the same time, the guards who were stationed at the entrance of the royal treasury had been alerted of the intruder. They had begun to outflank her. Her hands moving ceaselessly, Huang Yuli activated the numerous and various traps during her mad dash. Ah, God! What is this? Watch out! Hurry and dodge! Hearing the tragic screams from behind her, Huang Yuli lightly chuckled. Originally, these traps were intended to defend against outside forces. But as a veteran of the trade, she effortlessly levered them to her advantage, duping all of the Imperial guards into the royal treasury along the way. Dashing out of the treasury, she escaped into a nearby forest. Only then did she stop and let out a breath. Nearly tired me to death. Gasping for breath, Huang Yuli felt herself on the verge of fainting. To run so madly away without any profound chi was not an easy feat to accomplish. It consumed too much energy. Before she could catch her breath, she heard shouts from nearby. "Little thief, don't think of escaping. Stand still for me. Quietly wait to be captured, or if you were captured by this senior, you would wish you were dead." As she turned her head to look back, Huang Yuli nearly burst out in laughter. The previously immortal-looking imperial tutor now had a burnt beard, black and red patches everywhere, tattered clothes, and arrow in his arm. Obviously, quite a few traps were set off on him. Red-faced, he had been angered to the max. Huang Yuli quickly urged her 2 legs and started to run again. "Don't run. This senior wants to grind your bones to ashes." The imperial tutor followed closely behind Huang Yuli. It was quite obvious this thief's cultivation was very low, so as long as he used a bit of effort, he would be able to capture her. But every time he attempted to do this, she would become as slippery as a mud fish and slip through his fingers with various blockages. In this journey, he had experienced and suffered numerous mechanisms. More than half of his treasured silvery long had been destroyed. Since he became the imperial tutor, he had never suffered such humiliation. This thief had sky-high courage, daring to trespass into the royal treasury and playing with him like this. "Don't let this senior catch you, otherwise," clenching his teeth, the imperial tutor stated. "Run! Run! Run!" In a blink of an eye, both of them had ran 10 li. At this point, Huang Yuli had spent nearly all her energy, while the imperial tutor was still brimming with vigor. His breaths were long and drawn out. Not the slightest bit of fatigue could be seen. As the distance between the two gradually shortened, a sinister smile began to slip onto the imperial tutor's face. "Still running? Let's see where you can escape to." You can also listen on. As the various profound armaments Huang Yuli had brought were nearly depleted, she had yet to lose the imperial tutor. Finally, she began to feel traces of panic. As the #1 armament master, a stately 9th-grade peak talent, was she Huang Yuli about to meet her end today at the hands of a 4th-stage old man? If word were to spread out, she would become a great joke. In her worldly journeys, she had already experienced countless brushes with death, as if a cat with 9 lives. So in such a desperate situation, she could still coolly analyze her surroundings. Without noticing, the 2 people had run all the way to the outer wall of the royal palace. Her eye flashing, Huang Yuli suddenly retrieved the sleeping little phoenix from inside the sky phoenix ring. "The sky, the earth, little Wang Kai, please hurry up and shoot fire. Today, this elder sister will rely on you to survive. Hurry and breathe out a large breath of fire." As Wang Kai was currently in his crucial stage of infancy, in order to mature fully, he must sleep a full 16 hours each day. So during the middle of night, it would be the point where he slept most deeply. While in the throes of sleep, the little suddenly experienced a change in sharp drop temperature. Groggily regaining conscious, he discovered he was in Huang Yuli's arms. "Onion, this female devil, why was she disturbing someone's sleep? They wouldn't be able to grow nice and tall." Before he could complain, he saw a purple-faced old man appear in his line of sight, his shriveled arm reaching out towards him. "Ah! Mummy, save me." This old man looked so scary. In fright, the little opened his mouth and puffed out a flame of true fire. "Ah, what is this strange thing? So painful, so painful. Why can't I extinguish this fire?" As the imperial tutor was being burned by the fire, she leaped over the wall. Writhing in agony on the ground, mud smeared onto the imperial tutor's entire body. Due to the little phoenix's immaturity, the density of his true fire had yet to reach peak levels. After consuming a few pills and moving his profound qi, the imperial tutor then used quite a few skills to finally put out the fire. Hastily turning his head, he discovered the thief had dared to jump into the territory of the royal palace. Hesitating momentarily, he decided to follow suit. Unfortunately, fortune was not with the imperial tutor. He had landed perfectly into the nails Huang Yuli had set. He couldn't help himself but wail out loudly. For such a scream to erupt out in the royal palace during night, It attracted the attention of all the surrounding patrol guards. Who is it? Who dares to shout so loudly within the royal palace? Not good. Someone has jumped the fence. It's definitely an assassin. Call for assistance to capture the assassin. The responses of the royal palace guards were extremely fast. Echoing each other, a large group of reinforcements quickly arrived at the scene and surrounded the imperial tutor. In pain and fury, the imperial tutor vigorously cried out, "Scram to the side for this senior. Can you not see who this senior is? Your dog eyes are blind." Contrary to what the imperial tutor predicted, the vast majority of guards did not know who this bellowing man was. All they saw was a tattered, clothed old man covered in injuries. While his face seemed fiendish, clearly displaying that he was not a good person. Suspicious. Too suspicious. Because the imperial tutor was too focused in capturing that thief, he constantly cursed with words such as kill and death. Due to this, the various guards blocked his path. So in a fit of rage, he inflicted heavy injuries upon a few nearby guards accidentally. This move was equivalent to hitting a hornet's nest. He dares to kill? He definitely is an assassin. Capture him and obtain revenge for our fallen brothers. Everyone, do not be afraid. Let us charge together. The guards shouted and attacked together. Although the imperial tutor could easily kill them with a single blow, he did not and could not. They, after all, were the imperial guards of the royal palace. Arms and legs tied down, both sides became deeply tangled, unable to come to an end. You can also listen on. In the midst of this chaos, Huang Yuli stealthily moved along the wall in search of a hiding place. During the night, the royal palace was tranquilly quiet. Even if the occasional eunuch or palace maid were to walk by, they would lightly step while carrying their lanterns. Calmly she avoided them as she went towards a more secluded location. Just as she was about to pass through a corridor, suddenly a large force came from behind her, pulling Huang Yuli into the room. Huang Yuli would have never thought that there would be someone so powerful ambushing her. Without any notice or sign, she did not sense any presences nearby. By the time she could react, she was already pressed against the door, while both her wrists were locked down by an iron vice grip above her head. The strong silhouette of man pressed down upon her, closing the distance between the two to nothing. "Who are you?" "Release," as Huang Yuli furiously commanded. Her lips were sealed, unable to continue speaking or breathe properly. This was a very forceful and hot kiss. The man's thin lips enveloped her cherry lips, massaging and then using a bit of force, he bit the corners of her mouth. Taking the opportunity while her lips were parted in pain, his tongue invaded inside and began to ravage her sweet tunnel. All of Huang Yuli's attempts to resist were easily pushed aside by the man. With the man's overpowering strength, she found herself unable to resist or lever herself in the slightest. Huang Yuli's awareness gradually became blurred as the man's strong smell and breath as it merged with her short breaths. For some inexplicable reason, this unbridled and insanely powerful man gave her a sense of familiarity. Lying within the man's embrace, that kiss and dizzying scent reminded her of her past life. Just as she was about to suffocate, the man released her lips from his grasp. Moving down, he began to nibble on her slender neck. Raising her head, Huang Yuli gulped in large breaths of air and slowly recovered awareness. At this time, the man's trailing kisses had traveled down to her collarbone. "You pervert! Who are you? What do you intend to do? Release me!" Using all her strength, she wriggled and shook her body to escape his grasp. But the man remained as stable as Mount Tai, standing completely still. Helplessly and left with no resort, she turned to glaring venomously. In the darkness of the room, she could only vaguely make out the electrically sharp reflections of his eyes. "Pervert, clearly you felt quite good from this seat's kiss. But as soon as I left go, you turn against me?" A familiar husky voice echoed beside her ear. "It's you!" Huang Yuli cried out in surprise. Chuckling lowly, the man went to light up the nearby oil lamp. Instantly, the room lit up brightly. The man who forcibly kissed her had turned out to be the master of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Gnashing her teeth angrily, she fiercely glared toward him and said, "Why are you here? Why must you follow me around? And committing such things on me? What things?" He wickedly smiled at her. So angered, Huang Yuli wanted to butt him. "Must you act this way? Who would have thought, after all the airs you had placed, you turned out to be a pervert? You actually forcibly kissed me." Wantonly, the Lord Owner observed her tender cheeks. Due to her anger, a rosy hue had appeared on them, while the flames of anger lit up her dazzling eyes. You can also listen on. A little fox brimming with vitality. Her angry appearance was especially cute. Facing her fierce eyes, a touch of an evil smile appeared on the man's face. "Little thing, do not wrongly accuse this seat. First of all, that was not a forced kiss because you also enjoyed it. Secondly, this seat is not a pervert. Towards this one's future wife, it is reasonable and legitimate. If you slander this seat, he does not mind using your own methods to teach you how to properly speak to her man. Understood?" Fuck, really shameless. Although Huang Yuli was stunned by his shameless, rage soon rose within her heart. What she found most annoying was this kind of self-righteousness. Because he was a man, did he believe that he held the qualifications to take a possession of her? Who did he think he was? The reason as to why she had been unable to accept Mu Qingying in her past life was all due to his hateful and overbearing style. She did not expect to meet such a tyrannical and arrogant man so shortly after her rebirth. Huang Yuli frostily looked away from his eyes. "I'll say it again. Let me go." Before the man felt enough satisfaction from his teasings, he was unexpectedly faced with this little thing's sudden gloominess. As if she'd truly been angered this time. His heart shivering, the man thought of what to say to appease her. Suddenly sensing danger, he intuitively backed away. Taking the moment of temporary lapse in attention, Huang Yuli took the chance to attack out. A flying dagger flew closely by his face and embedded itself firmly into the wall behind him. A little closer and his handsome face would have been ruined. Stroking his almost sliced chin, the man helplessly shook his head. This little fox really is too rebellious. In front of her, he could not lower his guard in the slightest. Just a little bit of careless, and he would be assaulted. Being together with her was just a bit too stimulating. Although she could not hurt the man, but she broke free from his shackles, restoring her freedom. Walking back a few steps and hands clutching her chest, she coldly stared at the man. "I said, do not touch me." Okay. Not touching, not touching." He raised his hands in surrender. "You do not have to be so fierce. Your request, this seat will promise." If she was not fierce, this man pulled her nose from place to place. Still as cold as before, Huang Yuli questioned, "I ask you, why are you here? Are you trailing me?" The man sat on the side of the soft couch. His collar was in disorder, but he did not hold any intention to fix up his clothing. He said lazily, "You have a nerve to say that. After the auction, this seat told you to obediently wait for me. How could you slip away by yourself?" Huang Yuli retorted, "Wait for you to do what? Lord Owner, you were very busy so I did not wish to disturb you. Since I knew the way home, I did not bother you further." Those words were full of opposition. Listening to her response, the man felt sour. Must you so distantly refuse someone? Towards bad and villainous males. This has always been the attitude I show. Lifting her chin, Huang Yuli replied to him. "Oh." He blatantly chuckled. "Do not confuse this seat with those scheming men. After all, you have no color." "You." Huang Yuli nearly from anger again. Harshly she glared at him. "What is your intention? Since you are not scheming, what is your aim from following me?" You can also listen on. Fixing his gaze on her for a while, he helplessly shook his head. So heartless you were, little thing. If you were looking for flame cloud pearl, why did you not tell this seat? Huang Yuli raised her eyebrows. Why should I tell you? This is my own thing. No relation with you. I can handle it myself. Besides, if I do tell you, can you obtain the flame cloud pearl for me? Your so-called handle it yourself is running around like a street mouse, chased so madly? He asked in a tone filled with mockery. You saw that? From which moment did you start following me? Huang Yuli never thought that such an embarrassing affair would be witnessed by this annoying man. One could not convey how embarrassed she felt. Looking at the man's ghost of a smile, she felt her heart stop. The man looked at her expression on her little face with satisfaction. He took pleasure to see this black-bellied, cunning little fox become defeated like so. Discovering this small fox's eyes become more and more brutal, men had touched the nose and decided it was enough. In fact, the day you left Thousand Treasure Pavilion, when this seat asked the manager's son, he mentioned that you wished to buy some herbs. He also said that you lacked the flame cloud pearl. Knowing your character, this seat predicted you would charge straight into the royal treasury to take the flame cloud pearl. I have been secretly paying attention to your movements recently. After you left your back courtyard, this seat followed from behind to protect you. Even though he explained himself, Huang Yuli just became more angry. So you've been tracking me for days? Like this seat has said, this is not tracking, but to protect you. Fortunately, you are more careful than predicted. Observing you for past several days, you made quite a bit of preparations. Although you are not lucky, little thing, you have quite a lot of tricks up your sleeve. Even the country's fourth stage master was played around in circles by you. Furthermore, you seem to know all of the hidden traps and mechanisms like the back of your hand. The Lord Owner's eyes revealed his appreciation. The more he saw her, the more satisfied he became with this little fox. Worthy of his praise. Every time they met, she would have new aspects of admiration, and more of her extraordinary talent was revealed, just like a pearl hidden in the dust. Unusually dazzling, simply not like a genius the small country of South you could give birth to. Listening to his eloquence, Huang Yuli's rising chest of the anger burned hotter and hotter. She finally could not help herself. Going on for half a day, you have just been watching me make a fool of myself. You clearly witnessed my embarrassing blunder, but refused to help. Watching on from the side, this seat saw you handled everything very well. Not even a single strand of hair was hurt. Is there a need for this seat to intervene? The man faintly glanced at her and continued. Furthermore, did you not just say that your affairs have nothing to do with this seat? Because this seat respects your opinion, he did not make a move. Instead, you should be thanking this seat, no? Phoenix Yuli's eyes were wide open. He actually used her previous words against her. Although she did not ask the man to help her steal the flame cloud pearl, but he had already come. And he just watched her sorry struggles from the side? Is this a bit too vile? He still dared to say he liked her? You intentionally did that. Grinding her teeth, Huang Yuli spat out. He laughed like a ruffian. So what if this seat intentionally acted like so? What? Do you intend to bite me? You can also listen on. He deliberately spoke as slow as possible, dragging out the me syllable. As his gaze landed on Huang Yuli's tender pink cheeks, he smiled demonically. Huang Yuli returned with her furious glare. In your dreams, your skin is both rough and thick. Even if all of my teeth fall out, I will not bite you. Since your skin is this thick, why don't you take a walk around Dark Moon Forest? After a stroll, I guarantee that a large number of demonic beasts will fight each other to bite you. Bite you till not even bone dust will remain. As the man watched her seething expression, he shook his head in amusement. This little fox, in other places she was very smart, but was quite slow in this aspect. She did not catch his hidden meaning, but this was good. In the coming future, he will properly teach her to make her willingly go and satisfy him. As he smiled, He went to appease the hair-standing little fox. Fine, fine. Don't be angry anymore. Clearly it was you in the wrong. If you had informed this seat earlier, conveying your intentions to find a flame cloud pearl, this seat would have personally gone and obtained one for you. And then, you would not have to be chased and run away so madly. Even if I didn't have you, haven't I successfully obtained the flame cloud pearl? Proudly, Huang Yuli raised her chin and the flame cloud pearl. The pearl's dark red color held great depth of color. The faint glow it cast also eluded the deep red color to that of dried blood. The man could not tear his eyes away from the little fox's proud and arrogant manner. Her expressions lit up her entire being. With a smile full of his indulgence and affection, the Lord Owner did not break her fantasy. In truth, the imperial tutor had not been the only one chasing after Huang Yuli tonight. In fact, another fourth stage master, the emperor's third uncle, had been alerted. But the Lord Owner's people easily dealt with this third uncle. Through their intervention, Huang Yuli able to escape without a hitch. Otherwise, no matter how abundant her tricks were, she would be greatly exhausted and out of her wits to escape the pursuit of two damn profound realm practitioners. She would not be able to stand in this room without a single hair harmed. The man loved to see her in glowing spirits, so he did not choose to break her illusion. Instead, he shifted his gaze from her to the flame cloud pearl within her hand. So this is the flame cloud pearl? Are you kidding me? She raised her eyebrow questioningly. With your status and power, you have not seen a flame cloud pearl? The man disapprovingly replied, this seat is neither an armament master or an alchemist. Why did I need to recognize this thing? It is only a 6th rank material. Towards materials such as these, only 9th rank ones are able to capture this seat's interest and acknowledgement. Speechless, Huang Yuli was stunned from his words. Those words, they sounded a bit familiar. A long time ago, Mu Chungying seemed to have also said those very words to her. When she recalled that man who had come to save her, a sour feeling arose within her heart. Her train of thought traveled to those times. Back then, the two often went outside to explore various secret territories. When Huang Yuli saw high-level materials, it would break her heart to leave without them. She insisted on digging up every nook and cranny, in order to bring all the precious resources away with her. While Mu Chungying used the same disapproving tone to say, isn't it just a piece of rock? Why must you insist on taking it? Do you know how dangerous it is? But these are high-rank materials for armament masters. What rock? Don't you have the least bit of knowledge? Huang Yuli would roll her eyes in response. Armament refining delays cultivation. I have no interest. In any case, as long as you have enough power, you would easily find someone weaker than you to protect. For those armament master who need protection, you can ask them to make the appropriate armaments. As he said this, Mu Chungying deliberately swept his gaze over her. It was quite clear that in his eyes, she was a weak armament master who need protection. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli flared up on the spot. If you have the ability, don't come and ask me to refine armaments for you in the future. After all, you look down on armament masters. Angry? Through what eyes do you see my anger? I just don't want to see you anymore. So scram. Touching his nose, Mu Chungying felt somewhat bad. He really liked Huang Yuli's adorable arrogance, so whenever he found the opportunity, he loved to provoke her. But if she really became angry and refused to acknowledge him, his heart would then feel sore. As a result, he could only go back and quickly admit his wrongs. Little fox, don't be angry. I was wrong, okay? Hurry in, scram. Who is your little fox? Every single time, the two would erupt into a quarrel, and the end result was the same each time. Mu Chungying would suffer and face all sorts of dangerous and life-threatening conditions, to retrieve the various materials, regardless of the criticisms he received. Bulging with items, he would then deliver them in Huang Yuli's hands, all to obtain her forgiveness. When Huang Yuli recalled such events, a smile formed on her lips while her heart turned heavy. Nowadays, the two people were separated thousands of mountains and tens of thousands of seas. She wondered about Mu Chengying's fate, but the man's sudden sound interrupted her thoughts. "Little thing, why are you spacing out again? Did you turn dumb?" Regaining her awareness, she realized that she had turned dazed in front of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's owner. She couldn't help but feel a bit awkward. Flattening her lips, she passed over her actions. "Che, it's you who became dumb. Not learning skills, you hold the best reasonings." Noticing that her current state was not right, the man became suspicious. This little thing seemed to hold secrets that he could not see through. Sneering slightly, "Then please tell me, what are the uses of the flame cloud pearl? Could it be you plan to use it to refine some uncommon armament? But this is a 6th rank material. Are you able to refine 6th leveled armaments?" Huang Yuli shook her head in response. "The reason why I needed this flame cloud pearl is not for refining purposes, but for myself." Completing her explanation, she turned head to inspect the outside area. "Okay then, since we have finished our conversation, it is time for me to leave. Tonight, I will treat it as if I were bitten by a dog. But don't dream to gaining any more liberties from me. Otherwise, I will definitely make you see unsightliness." "You say I am a dog?" Nodding his eyebrows in displeasure, he took a step forward with intentions to capture this arrogant little fox. Retreating backwards, Huang Yuli slipped through his control range. However, just as her hands grazed the door handle, clamorous shouts echoed from outside the room. "The Bright Flower Palace shall be searched by the 3rd Squadron of the Golden Scale Guards." The 4th Squadron will go to the Temple of Longevity. 5th Squadron. The Imperial Tutor has conveyed his intentions. We must carefully inspect all rooms. That sky-reaching courage thief must still be in the Royal Palace. No matter what, he must be captured. If we are to allow his escape, everyone in the Golden Scale Guards from top to bottom must receive punishment. Understand? Yes. Obey the General's commands. This subordinate receives the order. Go and search. Each of the respective squadron captains went to execute their commands, scattering swiftly in all directions to begin their search. Although the palace Huang Yuli and the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion seemed cold and lifeless, it had already been surrounded. As the Golden Scale Guard's footsteps neared, the sound of the door knocking echoed along with the shrieks and screams of various eunuchs and palace maids being awoken. Everything was transmitted over, while also gradually increasing in volume. Halting her steps, Huang Yuli's expression turned solemn. It was all this damned man's fault. His forced kiss delayed her, while the various palaces and temples had all been surrounded. It was not reasonable for her to directly charge out. She must find another way. You can also listen on. Opening the door slightly, Huang Yuli secretly looked out. In the quiet palace, chickens were flying and dogs jumping. The lights in each room began to light up, looking very strange. If she were to continue to remain here, she could only become more and more passive. Making a decision in a split second, Huang Yuli prepared herself to rush out of the palace, mixing into various palace ladies to look for potential opportunities of escape. Although it was extremely dangerous to go out now, it was better than staying inside and waiting. For those Golden Scale Guards, it would only be a matter of time before they found the room where she is hiding in. Stripping off her night clothes, she suddenly went to pull open the door with intentions to go out. However, no movement? Why did the door refuse to move? She froze and then lifted her to see the Lord Owner had unknowingly appeared behind her. His slender, strong hands were gently pressed against the door, not allowing her to open it. Huang Yuli sighed out exasperatedly. "What do you want to do it? Hurry up and move aside. If I don't leave now, it would be too late. What is the rush?" The man said lazily. Although he was gazing at the little thing's fierce glare, he did not seem to sense her urgency. "You're not anxious, but I am." Huang Yuli exploded from anger. "If they were to find us later, how will you deal with it?" Nonchalantly, the Lord Owner replied, "With no other choice, we can just kill our way out. These guards are but at the second stage. With a single move from this seat, they will all perish." Huang Yuli naturally would not question this man's ability. But if he were to really kill in the royal palace, only more trouble will arise. Although she did not care about the options of South Yu's emperor, but she still needed to stay in South Yu for some time. It would not be beneficial for her if the city were to be engulfed in wind and rain no good for her. If martial law would be then strictly enforced on the street, it would cause difficulties for her to sell her goods in the future. Unless she no choice but to use this last resort, she would prefer to find other methods. Has this row of rooms been searched? This is the resting palace of His Highness, so no one has ever lived. All the more reason to search. The thief will definitely hide in a room without anyone. But what if that His Highness returns and found out that we broke in? He is not here anyway. Do be so wordy and quickly go search. The search of a nearby room being searched could be heard. The guard in charge of the search was only 10 meters away from them. Very worried, Huang Yuli attempted to forcibly pull open the door again. "Quickly, let me out." He lowered his head and gazed at the little thing's drum's adorable and prideful puffed cheeks. A smile flashed in his eyes. His right hand still pressed on the door, while the left hand moved down to hook Huang Yuli's waist. In a low voice, he whispered into her ear, "Little thing, do you not believe that this seat can protect you?" His sexily tempting voice sounded, as his thin lips gently blew hot air into her ear. Huang Yuli's ears uncontrollably heated up. She leaned against the door, face flushed while her heart cursed this man for being both shameless and senseless. At this time, he continued to act in such an ambiguous. He thought it would make her obedient from guilt. She will not be confused. Huang Yuli pursed her lips. "I do not need your protect." Her statement dropped off when she heard the loud voices of the golden-scaled guards sound from outside the room. "What's the matter? There are people in this room? Did you not say there are no people living in this row of rooms? Who is inside then? Quickly open the door, catch that assassin, and search every room. If you do not open the door, we will forcibly make our way inside. You can also listen on." The moment the guard spoke out, Huang Yu pushed the man's chest. This forced him to fall into the couch on the side. Men did not think she would do such a move, so he was frozen for a moment. "Little thing, your actions, do you wish to become pregnant?" "Oh." Sweet and soft lips planted themselves on his own lips, cutting off his unfinished words. The man's face showed a rare expression of astonishment. No matter what, he would have never expected he would go down such a peachy road. Usually, just a touch of the hair would cause his little fox to avoid him in fear. But now not only had she pushed him down, her entire person had dropped into his arms. Such a proactive action it was. As her sweet female scent lingered in at the tip of his nose, her soft body fit snugly into his arms. The Lord Owner stretched out a strong and powerful arm and tightly hugged the little fox within his arms. That slender waist of hers seemed so thin that it would easily snap if he used too much strength. Different from the usual brandish of claws, her cunning and arrogant look, the little fox in his arms. So small, so soft. Even in front of his strength, there was not the slightest bit of resistance. Such a large contrast to her usual actions caused the man's heart to suddenly burn up with emotions. Although the Huang Yuli took the initiative, she only lightly placed her lips on his. After that, she did not move at all. Completely missing the main point, the man felt quite distressed. Strengthening his grip on Huang Yuli's arm, he changed from a passive position to the more active role as he began to nibble on Huang Yuli's lips. Taking advantage of her burst of pain, his tongue went straight inside and explored her mouth wantonly without restraint. The hot kiss was strong, overbearing and arrogant. Huang Yuli uttered a woo cry, wishing to withdraw, but could not. Bang! 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 With some loud noises, the golden-scaled guard shouted a few times more at the door. Without waiting for an answer, he directly opened the door. Although the door was constructed from solid wood, it was capable of withstanding the blow of the practitioners from the defensive profound realm or higher. Very soon, it was kicked open. Who is hiding in the room? Hurry up and come out. Search, search. Under orders of the king, those daring to harbor assassins will all be beheaded in public. The golden-scaled guard strode in with large, arrogant steps. Guys, hurry up and look at what this illicit couple is doing. Wow, this is... What palace are you from? Such great courage, daring to conduct an affair within the royal palace? In a moment of desperation, Huang Yuli had directly kissed the lord owner, for that was the only method she was able to think of, because the golden-scaled guards had forbidden any palace maids and eunuchs to leave their rooms in order to facilitate with their search. It was already very suspicious being together with the lord owner. They would definitely be arrested on the spot, but with their current actions, they could pass off as a couple hiding in an uninhabited room for their little love affair. Relationships between palace ladies and guards is a very common thing. Although it is a violation of palace rules, with its punishments, it would be better than being exposed. And because the golden scale guards would be too busy catching the little thief, they would have no time to deal with them. At most, they would be arrested and locked in the punishment hall. And those places simply could not hinder them. It would be a trifling task for them to escape. Although it was the only idea Huang Yuli could think at the moment, but it was very suitable. The only depressing thing, the man had took the opportunity to eat her tofu again. Unceremoniously, she had been thoroughly kissed again. You can also listen on. This strong and warm kiss was filled with unusual suggestions. This caused her legs to soften and her brain also turned into paste. Huang Yuli simply could not believe that she would be turned into a love-struck fool. A simple kiss from this man was able to change her completely out of character. If the golden-scaled guards weren't about to enter, then she let out a groaning sound and felt that her entire body was not feeling too well. You too. Hurry up and get out. Hands on your head and stand over there. Private affair, a violation of palace rules. You two male and female dogs, your courage is not small, You can say that your luck is quite bad today. Go to the punishment hall and report yourselves. The golden-scaled guard loudly berated them. Several despicable gazes fell onto Huang Yuli's body, sizing her body from top to bottom. Afterwards, filthy comments spewed out from their mouths. TSK, TSK. Speaking of which, this woman's age seems very small, Hasn't reached marriageable age? So small and already yearning for a man? Truly not a good thing, Her looks, however underdeveloped, are so tender. She must taste special. There was a more courageous guard who took a few steps forward and chuckled. Little girl, with your fine skin and tender meat, if you were to fall into the hands of the punishment hall, I am afraid your life is over. Go to accompany our brothers to play, and maybe, if my brothers feel well, we'll let you go. As he said this, the golden-scaled guard standing at the edge began to chuckle and laugh out. A frosty gleam flashed through Huang Yuli's eyes. Such words, shameless to the extreme, but her current priority was to leave. So unfortunately, she could not immediately attack. This account, though, she will remember and settle it at a later date. Her cold eyes swept through the bunch of arrogant golden-scaled guards, imprinting their faces firmly into her mind. Afterwards, she immediately put on a delicate and charming look, instantly turning into a weak white lotus. Her eyes were tearful, while her lips trembled. You do not come. Seeing her act this, the group of people only laughed louder. Look at both of them holding each other, so reluctant to separate. They will not shed tears until they see their coffin. Hurry up and come over here. Send 2 people to escort them to the punishment hall. Pushing away the man in front of her, Huang Yuli prepared to climb down from the imperial consort's bed. But who knew the man's chest would be as rigid as iron walls, hard and solid, not shaking in the slightest. She forcefully pushed a few more times, but was still unable to make him move. Huang Yuli's face turned green. This man, what schemes was he up to this time? At a time like this, he was still dragging her hind leg? Hey you, she looked up at him, and then turned blank. The man's cold lips were tightly pursed together, his jaw tight, clearly displaying the unsuppressed rage within. His body's internal pressure instantly released itself and covered the entire room in his profound chi. Restless and with strong momentum, overwhelming everyone present. Pooh! 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 The golden-scaled guards within the room immediately spewed out mouthfuls of blood while their legs softened. They all knelt to the ground, but the man's pressure still continued to increase. The golden-scaled guards felt the pressure within their minds become lower and lower as their knees buckled to the ground, their bodies constantly trembling. The voice of the Lord Owner was like ice, like it had been transmitted from far, far away. Dare to take liberties with this seat's woman, courting death. In the next moment, the golden-scaled guard who had spoken impertinently to Huang Yuli cried out in a blood-curdling manner. His blood splashed out. You can also listen on. Ah, so painful, painful. Help me. Save me. My hand. Blood, so much blood. Bursts of screams echoed into the midnight. Hearing those ghastly cries during such a dark and cold night was particularly frightening. As he gradually lessened the pressure, the remaining golden-scaled guards could finally raise their heads. Pale-faced, they looked at him in fright, all on the verge of collapse. They only saw the severed hands and feet of the men who had attempted to take liberties with Huang Yuli lying on the ground. As they lay spasming on the ground, their blood gushed out, creating small pools around them. But this is not the most scary part. What was even more frightening, their nether regions had become plies of mashed-up flesh. Clearly, they had all become eunuchs without consent. For a warrior, broken hands were not rare. But to be so directly attacked in such a place, no man could stop cold sweat from appearing on their backs. Ugh! Someone vomited onto the ground in front of them. The rest did not vomit, but their bodies had all turned stiff, not daring to move about. They fear angering the devil in front of them. No matter how much they thought, they did not understand why such a terrifying person would appear in such a secluded location. Were they not just a little couple in the midst of their affair? The female looked pure, while the male, although not a member of the golden-scaled guards, should be an ordinary palace guard. Ordinary palace guards would at most hold cultivations around the 8th-9th level of the Qi Profound Realm. Incomparable to them, say nothing to their entire squadron. They actually have been pressured to ground, unable to rise up. Quite obviously, one move from him would be able to wipe out everyone present. The Lord Owner swiftly glanced down at the kneeling golden-scaled guards. Wherever he looked, he was met with silence and fear of offending him. Even those guards whose limbs had been severed did not dare to utter a single moan again. They could only painfully lie on the ground. In such a gloomy, cold atmosphere, there was still a voice to who dared break the silence. Hey, can you let me go now? Hurry up and let me go down. Also, I am not your woman. Don't you dare speak nonsense. Completely ignoring his cold expression, Huang Yuli twisted her body and pushed him hard. Kneeling at the door, the golden-scaled guards drew cold breaths. Did this woman lack brains or something? In front of such a demon, she dare speak so presumptuously? Not only was this man immensely powerful, but he also looks to be the cold and relentless type. To provoke such a person, even if you were his woman, there would be no good fruit to eat. However, the reaction of the Lord Owner was not how they expected. His grip on her waist was still firm, while his line of sight slowly moved down from her flashing eyes, sweeping past that tiny nose and falling lightly onto the mouth. He whispered, "If you don't stop talking, I will kiss you." What? Dream? Oh no. At such a time, your brain, woo 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 woo. He knew this little thing could not take the stimulation. In all, he had warned her. If this little thing must go against him, then she couldn't blame him, right? Hooking his lips, the man sealed her mouth to block all protests. Huang Yuli's face turned red immediately. She could not believe this man would perform such actions in public. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.